To the Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the news, views, reviews, and interviews. Anyway, today's news, I've got nothing to report really at all. All I can say is that Starfighter, the next main Star Wars film, is still being filmed. It's actually being filmed at the moment in England. England is actually a heavyweight of productions at the moment. They're actually also filming the new Avengers film there at the moment. So there's Avengers, there's Star Wars. That's the Starfighter of Star Wars, the movie that's coming out in 2027, May. So just that's continuing filming and that's it. That's the news. Let's get into views. Views is my story idea of anything about Star Wars that I'd like to see fruition. Now, it doesn't mean that this must be the way. It's just I accept Star Wars, as I keep saying, for what it is. I accept the story as it is. I think it's enjoyable from start to finish, believe it or not. And when I say the start, I'm talking about the story of the Star Wars story timeline. You know, there's moments there where you go cringe, or there's moments there that you go, let's move on. But it's that's it. It is what it is. Anyway, my story idea today is to do with Rey. Rey, the character, which was the main front and center character, ending up being a Jedi in the sequel trilogy, which was episode 7, episodes 8, episodes 9, which was The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. Rey, who's played by Daisy Ridley. Now, there's been a lot of discussion online about what is happening with the Rey movie. That was sort of partly announced. It was partly announced at a celebration, not the last celebration, not the last Star Wars celebration that was in Japan. It was the one before that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the Europe Star Wars celebration. I think. I don't know. I'm thinking. Where Daisy Ridley was there and announced that there is a new film coming out. But then the dislike and the understanding of where this franchise is going online really swelled and caused, I think, either a delay or cancellation. There is either a delay or cancellation for the Rey movie. I call it the Rey movie because that's what it's sort of being referred to as at the moment. The Rey trilogy movie, whatever it is, whatever storyline they choose, I don't know. But my story idea is that the next episode, which is episode 10, which I am saying that is Starfighter. They're not announcing it yet, but I think they will announce it really close to the release date at the next Star Wars celebration, which is in LA. They'll announce it because I think the celebration just comes out just before Starfighter, and it'll be perfect timing. I think Rey needs to be a part of the storyline. You can't just, have non-existence about Rey. It's too big in the universe of the story of the universe in Star Wars at that point in time, episode 9, to not have known of Rey. It's sort of like the legend of Luke Skywalker being known in this sequel trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9. He was a legend. And so will, Rey, Skywalker, Palpatine, whichever you would like to accept, needs to be known. What I would do, because of the outrage from the hardcore Star Wars fans, and because you really want to start creating your own, that means your own original take on Star Wars, I think the originality needs to keep coming forth. And I think episode 10, which I think at the moment is going to be Starfighter, I don't know, needs to at least have a mention to a lead of eventually having Ray be in the storyline. How much in the storyline, I don't know. I would say a bit minimal, sort of give it a bit of, not too full on, too much about it. So it's reminiscent to the people who dislike the trilogy that was the sequel trilogy 7, 8, 9. You need to take on reality in writing a story, especially about Star Wars and how big it is. You really do need to listen to the fans. And that is me listening to the fans and listening to my inner voice of how I create a story. I would have Rey to be minimal in the storyline. I would mention the name in episode 10, which I'm thinking is Starfighter. If not, Starfighter should include it. Starfighter, why I'm saying Starfighter is because the storyline of it is about 5 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, episode 9, 5 years after of that particular show. So I think it needs to be mentioned. I would put that in the storyline, and I would create a story that had Rey in the movie alongside the main cast that was in 7, 8, 9. Not all of them, just the main ones, to have relevancy to the storyline. They are original characters that the new people took over from, and so that's good. The only thing I'm a bit doubtful with Starfighter, the lineup of actors, I do like, but I like it to be complete unknowns. If it was my choice, it would be complete unknowns. Ryan Gosling is a bit of a dicey sort of celebrity because he is a very good-looking man, and that's good. I'm all for it. And he is very popular from some movies in the past, like Barbie and things like that. That's good. I'm all for it. But it's a little bit too famous in my liking for a Star Wars film. It needs to be just raw. That's what I would like to do. I'd also include, going all the way back to the 1977 and how you created certain, starship flights and effects and stuff like that, like from raw. One, it would save you money. And two, how good it still looks today is up to standard. And it would be create a buzz of using seriously practical effects, like back from the original days. That's what I would do. I'd also not discount the fact. I wouldn't I would not discount the having proper visual effects as well, but that would just be a cost saver, and that would be a reminiscent thing from the past, having the original effects, how they created them in this episode 10. So the two things, I think Rey should be either mentioned or brought into play in Starfighter and or episode 10. That's my story idea. In what capacity after that, in what storyline, well, that's for me to discuss in another episode. Anyway, that is my view. A bit confusing this time, but it's pretty much about Rey being in either episode 10 or Starfighter. I think the mention of release should be there. Maybe a visual would be great, but that's my view, which would really upset some Star Wars fans, but Star Wars fans are just, diverse. We all have our opinions. We all are different. We all accept things and don't accept things and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, let's get into reviews. Now, this time around, I've got old technology DVD. One of the best spoof films in the history of spoof films was was Spaceballs. Like I thought, for 1980s, that type of humor, it was through the roof. It was just well done. They are making Spaceballs 2, which is going to be a very interesting way of creating that, because today's comedy is much different to back in the 80s, especially spoof type of films. But another comedy and sort of an adventure, more like an adventure with comedic sort of things, that came out just after the whole prequel trilogy, which was episode 1, 2, and 3, is this film, Fanboys. That this is great. Essentially, it's about getting to go to see The Phantom Menace, the real movie, episode 1, and the adventure it takes them to go and see this particular episode. Because at that time, Star Wars was out of Star Wars was like, it was the trilogy, the original trilogy was done. That was it. But then it got, and then George Lucas decided to do 1, 2, and 3, and that was great. But and then we thought the whole thing was done. They can't make any more movies, especially that he's, said, that's George Lucas. He has said that he won't do any more movies. But this was the adventures of getting to see The Phantom Menace. It's a fictional sort of thing based loosely on sort of facts, in the form of the desire to see this film, and it's got really good comedic aspects. It's not a spoof film. It's just a straightforward adventure sort of comedy, but just highly underrated. I give this film about an 8 out of 10, and it really good, really good. I highly suggest watching that film, especially if you don't come from a Star Wars perspective. You'll get to understand a bit of the fanfare about fans. But anyway, it's a proper film story that has comedic and adventure aspects to it in real life. It's not in a planet, it's not in space, it's here on Earth. Anyway, so that is my review this time around. Let's get into interviews. Interviews will be some questions I have got on my YouTube channel. You can send in any comments you like, preferably on the YouTube channel, as I really attend to those ones big time. And we have, can you believe it, Michael from Werribee South. Unbelievable. He's a curious man from Werribee South. Here's Michael with some questions. How did your obsession with Star Wars begin? Michael was asking. I'll tell you how it began. In the 80s, as a kid, I was into the toys, into the movies, but not obsessed. We took it on as like a great thing to do and be a part of and stuff like that. But then after we Return of the Jedi, all of us thought, well, that's it. So you sort of move on. There was a big hiatus on my behalf, thinking, I was a certain age at that time. I was, pursuing my musical sort of thing. I was at school. I just, it had come and gone. But my obsession came, I think, about 97, 90... So about 94, 95, my obsession. Like, I was obsessed as a kid with Star Wars, but it was just a time period. And then there was a big hiatus, and in about 94, no, I tell you earlier, about 93, 94, I started getting really obsessed. I went to the local video shop, and just hired Star Wars over and over and over and over and over and over again. Waste of money, but at the same time, I was just, for some reason, did not want to buy the thing, but I just wanted to keep going to the video shop and just watching it. But anyway, I did eventually buy copies. In fact, I've got numerous copies in various levels of Star Wars in the back, and anyway, I'll show you that in the future episodes. And so I think really I think really Star Wars fans, and including myself, are drawn to Star Wars because it's a great spectacle, audio and visual. But I think it's also, and I'll say this up front, it's a bit of a psychological breakdown, especially within family. And without sort of extending on my own family unfortunate ways, the psychological down effect of that drew me into Star Wars because Star Wars is a great psychological series of movies. It's it's seriously really good just to sort of get how get to see how people are and why and how the dark side, the good side. I think a lot of people who like Star Wars, not all people, not I wouldn't say most, I'd say part, but including myself though, it's a psychological breakdown that happens in life, and you get drawn to these movies because there's become like almost a person in your life, and that's where my obsession started. Um, just the it is a fun thing to look at, and it's fun to hear. So the enjoyment is there, but also the the um, healing of your own life happens with Star Wars. Anyway, so that was the answer to that first question. Quite a dramatic answer. Anyway, so the second question is, what have you burned drinking lately? Is it Kool-Aid? Well, I think burn is meant to be bean, and I think it's what I drink in here. If you knew what I drank in here, it's a type of coffee. I won't tell you exactly what type of coffee, because for me, I love coffee, and I love my David Letterman mug that I got from New York, not online. I've had that since a long time. So I drink mainly coffee in that mug. That's what I've been drinking, as Michael says, but it's what I've been drinking is the coffee. I just drink coffee. It just, gives me that spark. It's technically in the morning here where I'm recording this. So it's that time of day. I'm not into having coffee late at night. I will have it, but not so much. That's the question that Michael has asked me today. Well, one of the two. Anyway, that is the interviews for this time around. Thanks to Michael from Werribee South once again. But anyway, that is the show. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking.